Yo, family.
This is Sean O'Malley.
Right.
This is Sean O'Malley, and you're watching Full-Time
That's
MMA.
crazy.
Don't be a bagel-biting, bagel bitch boy, bagel bitch back.
Yo, you guys just were watching a 5-minute countdown with no audio. I didn't realize there was no audio. I was still setting up the show, and sometimes I'll mute the starting audio to play a song from UFC Yankovic. Didn't unmute it there, so a little 5-minute of dead silence, but the show is live now. So if you're listening on the replay, hopefully you skipped that shit. And you're here now with the family. What's going on, everybody? It is time for one of our weekly shows that we will be doing this week. And we got some MMA to talk about. Some fights happened over the weekend. There's some potential upcoming fights, some fights verbally agreed upon, a lot of actual fights going down this weekend, way more fights. Yo, I fucking chose the right time to fucking scale down on the MMA, if you know what I'm saying. 4 fucking fight cards between the UFC and Bellator this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. 2 Bellators, 2 UFCs. Phew, that's a lot of fights. Holy shit, son. And that's just Bellator and UFC. That ain't nothing else. We got all these other MMA promotions like Golden Boy MMA, as we unfortunately saw over the weekend. Boy, man, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to that. Dana White went off on Oscar De La Hoya in regards to Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz 3 at Golden Boy MMA, which, spoiler alert, ended in a first-round knockout of the Iceman, Chuck Liddell. But, you know what, before we get into the news, man, before we get into talking about upcoming fights and such, first we're going to play a couple songs from UFC Yankovic. Just 1-2 quick songs, set the mood, give you time to fire up whatever you might need to do, man. Whatever, let's do it. And then I'll pull up the chat, give some shout-outs to the family, and we'll get the show started. You guys can hear this, right?
Bellator, I'm reppin' Bellator, Bellator, Bellator. I'm reppin' Bellator, Bellator, Bellator. I'm reppin' Bellator, Bellator, Bellator. I'm reppin' Bellator. Look, Dana White, you found a fight. You said some shit that I ain't like about Bellator, so now it's time to back it up. Now grab the mic. You slap the fighters with the Reebok deal and treat them like some fools. I ask the fighters how the people feel, so people think I'm cool. Yeah, Scott Coker, baby, you ain't fucking with us. I'm like a stockbroker, baby, and I'm running it up. Go get your pot holders, baby. I'm like the oven to touch, and you can get Conor or Tony, Dana my Chandler, fucking him up. Whoa there, Scott. Whoa, what the fuck? Maybe when you smoke your pot, you shouldn't smoke so much. Because I know that you're high. Michael Chandler would die against Conor or Tony. Homie, so don't even try. Now, should I keep it with you, or should I get on your roster? Even Jimmy Smith is just a roster imposter. You got James Gallagher, he just wanna be Conor. You got Rory McDonald only cause we didn't want him. You see, Scott Coker, me and you, we are not kosher. You're not a stockbroker, boy, you're a stockholder. What the fuck were you thinking?
Honestly, that song was long enough, but you know what? We got one more quick one. Fuck it, we ain't played it in a while. Let's go. You know we're gonna save that. We ain't even gonna give him that heat at the beginning of the show. That's gonna be a fucking intermission. Let's get into the news, you guys. Let's do it, man. Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz. It happened. If you're a long-time Chuck Liddell fan, as my boy Jay Skills said, that was hard to watch. And if you've seen the way a lot of the actual fighters who are still current fighters, of course, they reacted on Twitter as well. They echoed that sentiment. This was a fight that a lot of people feel like shouldn't have happened, but, I mean, this is MMA. Come on. There's a lot of, we just had CM Punk versus somebody, right? Fucking, Dada 5000 versus Kimbo. I mean, there's been a lot of fights, you know what I'm saying, that are a show, even more of a shit show than this, because these are actually 2 fighters, you know what I'm saying? These are actually 2 legitimate fighters. They're just what you would say past their prime. I believe Chuck Liddell is not even past their prime. They shouldn't be fighting, right? 50 years old is a little farther than past your prime. But either way, you know, so if you don't have some sort of retirement, 401k, whatever that shit is, you know, that ain't for me to tell you about. But what I'm saying is, if you don't got that type of shit or some sort of retirement plan, sometimes you need that check. We've seen it, not just with Chuck Liddell, but it's just unfortunate because this is somebody you look at as a legend of the sport. I mean, and who shouldn't need to retire. But I mean, if you don't know the story of kind of potentially what I feel like kind of led to this situation was when the UFC got purchased. I mean, Chuck Liddell kind of had a job. He wasn't doing much for the company, but when Dana White and I believe the Fertitta brothers owned it, he got a paycheck for whatever reason, probably just because he was good friends with Dana White. But when the new owners purchased it, they had to cut costs. They got to pay back this big loan that they used to buy the UFC, so they had to cut a lot of costs. And cutting those costs, you had to fire people who weren't really producing, right? So you got guys like, I believe, Chuck Liddell and is Matt Hughes the other one, who were getting a check, but they ended up getting fired with a lot of the other employee cuts. The UFC made a lot of cuts. They cut a lot of employees, staff, and stuff like that. So now, if you're Liddell, you're not getting that check no more. We got to figure something out. And now we're here, you know what I'm saying, the week after Liddell versus Ortiz 3, Golden Boy Promotions, one of Dana White's, I don't even know if him and Oscar De La Hoya you would call rivals, but they definitely go at each other as far as boxing and MMA is concerned. Now it seems like they might be stepping on each other's toes a little bit. We saw McGregor go into boxing against Floyd Mayweather, and now we see Oscar De La Hoya getting Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell and coming and doing an MMA card, and Dana White's kind of going off about it, and he makes a lot of great points as well, which we'll read that. But let's just go over the official results real fast of Liddell versus Ortiz 3, and then I'll pull up the chat a little bit and give some shout-outs and see what you guys got going on. But the main card is really all we care about, and actually it's the main event, but we'll just read the results of the main card. Tito Ortiz defeated Chuck Liddell via knockout, round 1, 4 minutes and 24 seconds. Deron Wynn defeated Tom Lawler, UFC vet, unanimous decision. I guess Golden Boy's got a prospect. Gleison Tibau defeated Efrain Escudero via unanimous decision. And then the rest of the guys, I don't think any of you, some of you might know, but I definitely don't. So those are the 3 really fights that I know at least some of the fighters out of. And the main event, like I said, it ended in first round knockout for Chuck Liddell. And, you know, it's, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different reactions, you know. It's kind of, these guys are fighters, and that's one thing Dana White pointed out. These guys are fighters. This is what Chuck Liddell does. If Chuck Liddell needs to make a check, and you know what I'm saying, that's probably what he's going to do. It just sucks to see him go out this way. But let's look at some of the other fighter reactions, you know, from this event over the weekend. You got Joe Ellenberger, Patricky Pitbull. I mean, Joe Ellenberger said some of the folks throwing shade at Chuck Liddell not going to watch. Also the ones who tuned into Kimbo Slice and Dada, you know, and we pointed that out a little bit at the beginning of the show. But really what I wanted to get to is really it's toward the end of the show. Like that was the tweets before, but at the end of the show, it's really the same sentiment echoed. Is sucks to see him go out like that, but, you know, he went out on his shield. Congrats, Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell. Great fight, amazing show. I want to play the fucking highlight for you guys, but I don't want to get copy striked. Hard to watch, says Jorge One. It was hard to watch if you are a plant or a piece of cardboard. That was hard to watch if you are a plant or piece of cardboard. Well, just woke at full time, just third eye the first. Man, I'm just a little, you know what I'm saying? Just a little something, nothing crazy. Jay Skill says, what do you make, 250K? I don't know. Did they make that much? I don't know. I don't know how much they made, but shoot, I hope he made decent money for that loss. DC is a big fat loser. What's going on? He says, almost as hard to watch as DC crying like a baby. Shout out to Nicholas Moss. But this bald head bastard let CM Punk fighting, and Brock Lesnar fought Randy Couture. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, Dana White makes a lot of great points, but you know what I'm saying? It's not like he's just some hero in this situation, you know, for pointing out the obvious. Chuck Liddell shouldn't be fighting, and it's not like his hands are all the way clean either. He's had some freak show fights that, you know what I'm saying? Some shit we've seen, one-sided fights, like, even, and it's to a lesser extent, but you look at, like, some of the fights, like, what, Priscilla Cachoeira versus Valentina Shevchenko, like, was that really, you know, and it's a different level. They're not 50 years old, clearly. But Valentina Shevchenko, one of the best fighters in the world. So, I mean, it is what it is. And also, there's a little bit of a grudge there with Dana White and you know, Oscar De La Hoya. So, But he still makes a lot of great points. I definitely want to read what Dana White had to say. Jorge, one in the building. What's going on? Henry Clemente, yo. Wolf Martin, what's going on, everybody? Connor Lodge. But yeah, so Jon Jones, you know, he entertained some call-outs from Chuck Liddell in the past. Even afterward, you know, talked about like exhibition fights with Chuck Liddell potentially, or even grappling matches, you know, and he, after the way this fight ended, he says he's never replying to a Chuck Liddell call out again. This is what Jon Jones had to say. Yeah, it's official. I'm never replying to Chuck calling me out again. It's easy for him to talk shit when he knows he'll never be in the top 10 again. His theory makes no sense. I was freaking massive for that OSP fight, literally bigger and more ripped than I ever had been for any previous fight. Hey, Rashad. So I don't know where the fuck this tweet came from, because clearly I didn't read this full article, but I was just reading Jon Jones' response to Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz. So, but yeah, man, a lot of people didn't like the way that played out, and entertaining a call out from Chuck Liddell is kind of entertaining a potential another fight, and a lot of people don't want to see that after that. Now, this is what I really wanted to get to. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to watch as this weekend was. You know what I'm saying? It still kind of was an interesting moment for MMA, because now you got Oscar De La Hoya stepping in. That's another promotion, and I don't think Oscar De La Hoya, I don't know how well their MMA promotion is going to do. I don't think it's going to do great. You know what I'm saying? You got all these other MMA promotions out there right now. You got fucking LFA, you got the PFL, you got Bellator, UFC, all these legitimate, like, all of those are legit. They all have great fighters now, like, not just the UFC anymore. Now, when you look at Golden Boy MMA, they had Liddell versus Ortiz. That's really it. I mean, they might have had one prospect on that card. Like, they don't got a roster. They might, so I don't really see where that's going to go. But Dana White's eviscerating Oscar De La Hoya for allowing Chuck Liddell to fight. And this is personal, you know what I'm saying? Because that's one of Dana White's good friends. It's not him just saying, oh, you shouldn't let this fighter fight. This is one of Dana White's good friends. He just had to watch go out here and get KO'd in the first round because Oscar De La Hoya wanted to recruit him and whatnot. Now, I like I said, Dana White's hands are not clean in this as well. A lot of people point out, well, if Chuck Liddell had retirement or a 401k, or if they're treated like employees, not independent contractors, he wouldn't have had to go out here and make this fight in the first place. You know, so I'm not saying Dana White's hands are clean, but what he said here about Oscar De La Hoya, a lot of this shit, man, he's got a lot of good points, and he's ripping him. So he was speaking on the UFC Unfiltered podcast. He said, listen, I love Chuck Liddell. I don't ever want to badmouth Chuck Liddell. People think I'm bad-mouthing Chuck Liddell, but the reality is, first of all, let's say this first. I heard last week that the cokehead Oscar De La Weirdo is talking shit. I don't have any place to tell guys when to retire. First of all, it's called friendship, you fucking cokehead. I've been friends with Chuck Liddell for 20 years, and the reality is that Chuck Liddell retired when he should have retired, 8 or 9 years ago, whenever it was. Chuck Liddell's 50 years old and has no business fighting anymore, and the fact that the state of California even let the fight happen is disgusting. It's disgusting. Chuck Liddell's a huge superstar and has a great legacy in this sport. So, of course, as a friend, anyone that claims to be a friend of Chuck Liddell and was anywhere near this fight is full of shit. They're not a friend of Chuck Liddell. To let him go out in this fight is terrible. He continued to say the problem is Chuck Liddell was a fighter. Chuck Liddell loves to fight, and that's his passion in life. But there comes a day and age, fighting is a young man's game. He can't do it. And Oscar De La fucking Hoya says, oh, come over to Golden Boy where we respect fighters, and it makes me sick what the fighters were paid. All of this shit. Out of 14 fights on the card, the 5 fights were amateur bouts, which means they didn't pay them jack shit. 12 of the professional fighters on the card made less than $3K and $3K. What are you talking about, you cokehead junkie? Some of the guys made $1K and $1K, and he says that he respects the fighters so much, he couldn't even remember their names at the press conference. I mean, Dana White is shooting fucking holes through Golden Boy MMA right now, verbally. You know what I'm saying? Like, because Oscar was talking about paying the fighters what they deserve and all this shit. Dana White's like, dude, you might have paid Chuck and Tito, and even that's not what they deserve, but a lot of these motherfuckers are fighting for free. You got some 1K and 1K. I think the minimum in UFC might be 8K, and that might have got raised to 10K, entry level. So you're talking about paying these guys what they deserve. You got some motherfuckers out here fighting for free. You got a 50-year-old fighting for probably, I'm sure, less than $500,000. Like, what is he talking about? He said, I hope someone talks De La Hoya into fighting again, and I hope the state of California makes the fight, and I hope he gets knocked out just like Chuck Liddell did in the first round, the cokehead nutball. Tito and Oscar De La Dummy were made for each other. Those two fucking nutheads. First of all, Tito said, you guys want to get paid? Come over to Golden Boy MMA. Are you kidding me? Hey, wait, my brother. Wait to see how this all pans out. Everyone's going to be suing everybody in a couple of months. There was no money made over there. Oscar De La Hoya is a moron. Absolute moron. I don't know how Chuck Liddell allowed himself to get talked into this shit. Holy shit. Make sure you check out the UFC Unfiltered podcast. Dana White went in there. Said a lot of good shit. But like I said, there's two sides to this. You know, it's personal here. This isn't just Dana White speaking on some issue that he has no, you know what I'm saying, hand in. Chuck Liddell's a personal friend. Oscar De La Hoya has been a rival for a while, stepping into MMA, talking shit on the UFC. So either way, fucking blast. Now let's get over all of that madness. Honestly, let's talk about some potential upcoming fights. I mean, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz 3 shouldn't have happened. It did. It's over. We talked about it. It's cringy. It was hard to watch. Fucking Dana blasted Oscar De La Hoya. Fuck. I don't even really wasn't super interested in talking about it. Like the way it played out, it was just weird. Now let's talk about some upcoming fights, man. I don't know if this fight's gonna happen, honestly, but they have verbally agreed to a fight. Anderson Silva, Israel Adesanya, UFC 234. I mean, Israel Adesanya said it himself. I like the comparison. If this fight happens, it's kind of like LeBron James versus Michael Jordan. Now, the reason it is because, right, it's a striking stud in his prime, one of the best strikers alive now versus one of the best strikers in the past. You know, LeBron James is probably the best basketball player in the world today. Michael Jordan was of his time. So it's kind of like the best of today going against the best of yesterday. Now, with that being said, what do you do with that? You know, does this kind of remind you of, well, no, you can't really go to Ortiz Liddell because they're both not out of their prime. But, I mean, it feels like Anderson Silva's getting thrown at the chopping block a little bit in this fight if it does get booked. Now, if he agreed to the fight, okay, he might go in there and just take this L. But, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to imagine Anderson Silva beating Israel Adesanya if they actually do fight at UFC 234. But what is super dope to think about is, like, Anderson Silva stylistically versus Israel Adesanya. I mean, both of these guys are two of the funnest strikers to watch of their times. But the thing is, we've seen the question I have is, do you think this plays out in an exciting sort of striking kickboxing-ish match or a chess match like we saw in Wonder Boy vs. Till? You know what I'm saying? That's always a possibility you have to keep in the back of your mind as well. But, I mean, if this fight happens, man, I think everyone's still going to watch it, but I don't see much of a chance Anderson Silva having today. Now, what do you guys think about Anderson Silva versus Israel Adesanya in Anderson Silva's prime? Now we're fucking talking about an epic fight, a fight of epic, you know, epic proportions, epic levels, just an amazing fight. Silva versus Adesanya. But right now, you know what I'm saying? I look at it as more of, it would be like Adesanya probably going in there. And I don't know if he would knock Anderson Silva out. I mean, but he's got a real potential. Actually, he actually just might. Because, you know, Derek Brunson wasn't able to knock Anderson Silva out, but he's not near as technical as someone like Israel Adesanya with the striking. It'd be a little easier for Anderson Silva to potentially just avoid being knocked out by, you know, someone just gunning for the knockout. So, there's Prince, you guys. But yeah, let's check it out. They verbally agreed, according to MMA Fighting, initial report by ESPN. Israel Adesanya 15-0, just came off the win over Derrick Brunson at UFC 230. Anderson Silva recently cleared of his failed drug test, but still, I mean, we haven't seen Anderson Silva look like Anderson Silva since he was the champion, since he lost to Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman dethroned him, of course. You know, he was playing around, got knocked down in the fight. Next fight, got his leg broken. Since then, we haven't seen the Anderson Silva that made a lot of us big fans of the sport. Like me, I know Anderson Silva is a huge reason I became a fan of the sport. Anderson Silva, Rampage Jackson, that was back when I was 17, 18 years old. And that's really when I became a fan. And Anderson Silva is one of my favorite fighters of all times. And then fast forward, the multiple failed drug tests, the losses, and of course he's been cleared of the multiple failed drug tests, but it's still, man, that's the bad thing about tainted supplements. It still tarnishes your legacy. Not only the haters have ammo, like, oh yeah, but he failed multiple drug tests, but even people that were huge fans of you, like me, you look at somebody, you're a huge fan of them, they failed multiple drug tests, you're like, man, what the fuck? Like, was this dude cheating? Like, and then they fail another drug test and you're sure of it. But then they get cleared both times by USADA, and I'm talking about Anderson Silva and Jon Jones. They were both cleared twice by USADA. The same people that said they were guilty said they were innocent. So how can you then say they're cheaters? And it just taints their legacy, in my opinion, because it doesn't matter. Either way, you have to think about it. Even if they were cleared, you look at them with asterisk. But either way, you know what I'm saying? Anderson Silva versus Adesanya, if it happens, of course I'll be watching, you'll be watching, we'll all be watching. But I think it would be Israel Adesanya's time, man. Maybe like a passing of the torch or a taking of the torch. You know what I'm saying? Anderson Silva ain't going to go in there and lay down. But Adesanya, we saw in his last fight, man, he's fucking passed that test with flying colors. What he did in the fight with Brad Tavares and also most recently Derek Brunson, just insane. So if it happens, I mean, UFC 234 in Australia, that's where it's going to be Kevin Gastelum versus Robert Whittaker. Be a stacked card for sure. What's popping, full-time family? Forward in the building, not much. What's going on? Bubba G says, would be nice to see Israel versus top 5 guy, but whatever. Yeah, that'd be a lot better. I mean, there was talks of, right? Darren Till talked about moving up to middleweight. Even though he's not a top 5 guy, I would love to see Adesanya versus Till. Adesanya versus Costa. There's a lot of fights that would just be beast, like against beast, and I would just fucking love way more than this. But if I kind of get it, it would be a big fight for Israel Adesanya, a legacy fight, great name for your resume, fighting one of the greatest fighters of all time. I mean, it's like if somebody takes a fight with GSP, right? Or it's like, is it prime GSP? We don't know, but it's GS fucking P. Like, you want to fight that guy, you want a chance to beat that guy. Would you rather fight a top 5 guy, or would you rather get the chance to fight GSP? Now, clearly, it's a little different. Anderson Silva's not on the level of GSP as far as pay-per-view sales or anything like that anymore, even where he's at in his career. But it's a huge fight. So if you're Israel Adesanya, of course, you take the fight. Now, Anderson Silva, I would be surprised if he took the fight. I do recall the last time he was asked about Israel Adesanya, he didn't recall. Like, he's like, who's that guy? Like, who is that? Like, he didn't know who he was. He downplayed it a little bit. But he probably got put on his radar after that Derek Brunson fight. So that would be an epic fight if it happens. But yeah, I agree, actually. I would like to see Adesanya versus Tillmore, or Adesanya versus Costa, or Adesanya versus a top 5 guy. Fuck it. Jacare, right? Like, a top guy. Let's see where we're going with Adesanya. He's a great fighter. So we will see. UFC 234 looking like it's starting to get stacked up, though. Now, with that being said, Israel Adesanya also compared this fight. He said this is like LeBron facing Michael Jordan in his interview with the MMA Hour. So make sure you go check that out if you want to hear the full interview. But yeah, I like that comparison. I kind of get where he was going there. We talked about that a little bit. A couple more things to talk about on the show. We'll talk about this one, then we'll have a little intermission. What up, Prince? Says Mr. Perfect 2005. Yo, Prince he was going crazy earlier. Somebody was actually outside. I was like, are y'all gonna get I got, my brother downstairs, like, y'all gonna get the fucking door? Like, is something going on? But, neighbor across the street be going to the hospital all the time and shit. There's fire trucks and shit outside. Another topic for another day. Yo, L says, skill is skill, bro. Juice can't give you skill. You see nigga got slept on the juice. No, that 100%. Juice can't give you skill, for sure. You get somebody with skill, they'll beat a fucking guy on steroids every time if they have no skill. But if it's a level playing field, if we're both really good fighters, but you have the juice, then you get the edge. We both have skill, but you get juice and skill. Juice and skill beats skill. Juice doesn't beat skill, but when you combine juice with skill, now we're talking about a motherfucking goat. No, let me chill. Bubba G says, and LeBron is champ. Israel is not. Yeah. Look, Israel is not LeBron yet. That's the thing about the comparison. You're not LeBron yet, buddy. Not quite. As MMA fans, we complain about bookings and how they never cater towards their cash cows. Now they give Stylebender a glorified tune-up fight. We can't complain. I'm all aboard. Forward said, I'm all aboard. Let's give him a... Hey, I hear you. It would be an epic fight. I mean, it'd be a good fight. It wouldn't be the best fight we could see for Adesanya, the most exciting fight, but it would be a good fight we would all watch. Now, is it the best fight in the best? Probably not, if that's what you're into, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, a glorified tune-up fight. But does he need a glorified tune-up fight? He just fucking cleaned up Brad Tavares and fucking Israel Adesanya and Derek Brunson. Like, does he need a tune-up fight? He's beaten some really good fighters. Don't get me wrong, I want to see Israel versus Silva, but I hope Silva don't get knocked off like Chuck. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It kind of reminds me of Chuck versus Tito, because you're like, should Silva be in this fight? But the difference is both of those guys are past their prime. It was a little more level. Tito and Chuck are both older. Israel here, this might be a little worse, except for Anderson Silva's not 50 years old. But, I mean, Israel Adesanya, fucking prime young stud going against a legend. I mean, you're looking at it like, kind of like, you probably expect Silva to get knocked out unless he can avoid it and lose a decision. They should book Lewis versus Overeem at UFC 233 since Overeem wants to fight soon. Yeah, man, Alistair Overeem challenging Derrick Lewis after his big win at UFC Beijing. I'm down for this fight, man. I actually like this fight a lot. I mean, with the success Derrick Lewis has had, you can't count him out of this fight. I actually feel like this is one of the better fights that you can make in the heavyweight division, because honestly, if it were in a vacuum, nobody's chin was in question, or nothing like that, you give this fight to Alistair Overeem. More skills every time. You think he probably knocks Derrick Lewis out, right? But you probably could have felt the same way about Francis Ngannou, except Francis Ngannou is even a little more dangerous, you could argue, than Derrick Lewis. You know what I'm saying? But Derrick Lewis, someone you can never count out, who was just fighting for the fucking heavyweight title after, beating Volkov. And Derrick Lewis, low-key, is like 17-4 in the UFC, like 17 wins in the fucking UFC. He's climbing up on most wins in UFC heavyweight history and shit. And even when he's been hurt in fights, we've seen him get the third-round knockout multiple times. So this fight is really a even matchup. I would love to see this fight. I don't know who would win. I don't know how the fight would go. It could go either way. Either one of these dudes could get knocked the fuck out. Who knows? I mean, I love this matchup. So if Overeem's calling his shot, I think this is a fucking great matchup. Both these guys top 5, I believe, still in the heavyweight division. Alistair Overeem might be right on the outside of the top 5, coming off a first round knockout at UFC Beijing over undefeated Sergey Kavalov. I don't know his last name. Undefeated, though, Russian heavyweight. Alistair Overeem got the first round KO. Both of these dudes, you know what I'm saying, have fought Francis Ngannou, of course. We know how Overeem's went with that uppercut. And then Derrick Lewis, pretty lackluster performance, but he got the win. Overeem said, I'm hearing you guys want to see technician versus a brawler. What do you say, hot balls? I fuck with Overeem. He actually has some. His trash talk's a little low key. It's a little underrated. It goes under the radar, but he definitely, he's got some heat for you sometimes. Even when you're just watching him sometimes. Alistair Overeem's a funny guy. So Overeem versus Derrick Lewis, I'm all over that fight. I would love to see Alistair Overeem versus Derrick Lewis. Nicholas Moss said, I wonder who Fatboy DC's going to fight next, Stipe or Juicehead Lesnar, which it better be Stipe. Probably Lesnar, and if not Lesnar, Jon Jones. I don't think it's going to be Stipe next, but that would be dope. Stipe definitely deserves that fight. Bubba G says, hope Stipe gets a rematch. Mr. Perfect 2005 said, damn, bro, why all the hate for DC in the chat? Yo, some days you got some DC fans in here. Sometimes you got some DC haters. Maybe it's because the whole Stipe situation, too. You know what I'm saying? The way the whole Stipe situation's played out, people feel like even if he's not ducking Stipe's not getting his rematch. So it might have something to do with that. Or the fact that Jon Jones is back. Jon Jones is back. You know, motherfuckers hopped off that DC bandwagon quick. The GOAT is back. London calling, Stamina MC, what's going on, brother? Refurb Twang says he's too scared of Jones. Bat. Just Trey Young. All right, couple more things, but first, man, little intermission. Tyron Woodley, I'll beat your ass. The Full-Time Family remix. We didn't win the competition, but we still killed this shit.
Look, I'll beat your ass. I'll beat your ass. I'll beat your ass. I'll beat your ass. I'll beat him on Gato. Talk slick, move quick like a vato. One hand behind back with my eyes closed. You can't fuck with me, yeah, I know.
Look
I'll
out.
beat your ass. I'll beat your ass. I'll beat your ass. I'll beat your ass. I'll beat him on Gato. Talk slick, move quick like a vato. One hand behind my back with my eyes closed. You can't fuck with me, yeah, I know.
I'll beat him like a black belt. If a nigga fuck with me, then he assed out. I'ma sit his ass down, back against the wall, then I max out. If you want smoke, I'm a gas cloud. No time for you class clowns, cause my bitch got her ass out. And she wiggling, wobbling, and she moving, and she shaking it for me. And now these niggas getting mad now. Probably cause they salty and they jealous cause they really ain't been making no money. Hold up. Let me go on and switch my flow up. That's why everybody know us. Cause we throw 'em from the shoulders like some motherfucking soldiers. And I thought we fucking told ya. We ain't choose this life, it chose us. We do you like a pipe and smoke ya. Pause. I don't wanna talk, I just wanna break your jaw.
I'll beat your ass. I'll beat your ass.
Hey, we got a couple more things to talk about, Full-Time Family. I see Remove Lizard says Joe Rogan said they're dealing with eye pokes. That sucks for Jon Jones. Yeah, I saw that. Let's pull that up. There's some new gloves. Joe Rogan UFC gloves. And I know some people immediately think, uh-oh, bad news for Jon Jones. Oh yeah, you said that in the sentence. But yeah, this is like change. This would change the meta. Let's see. So, if you don't know about the UFC's gloves now, they're more grappler friendly. They're more, and what that does though is it makes your hands more extended. It doesn't close your fist as much because it makes it harder to grapple. So, these are more grappler friendly gloves. But what it does though, whenever you see people like parrying punches, a lot of the time when they're extending their arm, they poke motherfuckers in the eyes. And some of the greatest fighters of all time, like Jon Jones, have used that. And what's crazy is, I don't know, I forget the name of the documentary on Netflix. The Hurt Business, I think. Jon Jones is in it. And this bro, it threw me off. I was watching this shit. My girl was like, oh, you might like watching this. So we watched it one night, you know, UFC shit. And Jon Jones, he was like, yeah, you know, the way the gloves are, you know, sometimes I get away with poking people in the eye. And they're like, something like, do you feel bad about it? He's like, it works. And like smiles. I'm like, what the fuck? Did this guy just smile about poking people in the eye? Like, it works. Some shit like that. It threw me off. But Joe Rogan is revealing that there's a new glove in the works. He said, real problem, man. Solutions are in the works. I can't talk about it. I'm sworn to secrecy. They have a better glove design that they're working on right now. That someone is working on. I can't say anything. I've already said too much. Uh-oh. The fight companion with Joe Rogan, he already said too much. He let it slip. Secret new glove in the works. Might be bad news for Jon Jones, and it might be just in time for Daniel Cormier, right? Hopefully I can get these things incorporated before Jon Jones has to fight Daniel Cormier a third time. Especially if the fight were to happen to heavyweight, that changes the fight up even more, right? Already, if the fight happened to heavyweight, it's a new weight division. DC's undefeated at heavyweight. We've never seen Jon Jones at heavyweight. We don't know if Jon Jones, how he's going to look if he were to fight DC at heavyweight. For one, we got to see how Jon Jones is going to look against Alexander Gustafsson before we can make that call. And now if there's different gloves to change, I mean, when you think of who these gloves benefit a lot, of course, grapplers. But motherfuckers that get away with those eye pokes, I mean, we've seen it with Santiago Ponzinibbio, Jon Jones, and others. So that's interesting to see when these things would be incorporated. But it's still in the works. It's still just a design process right now, so it'll probably be a while. Did you see Sean O'Malley smoking and training? Not yet, but if you haven't saw Sean O'Malley's YouTube channel, he be posting they do podcasts over there now. The Timbo Sugar Show. He posts clips of him training. The Twitch shit that he has going on, like gaming clips where he's fucking shit up. Yeah, man, you got a lot of shit going on, but yeah, smoking and training, hey, that's definitely something. I used to go to whenever before my gym. I owe these motherfuckers all this money, so I gotta go to another gym or pay these motherfuckers back. You know, fucking Genesis Health Club, fuck around and fuck you over real quick. But sometimes, you smoke. Sometimes as long as you ain't doing like intense training, it's fine to smoke before you train, especially if you're doing like some jujitsu or something. There's what is it called? High rollers. The whole jujitsu competition, like you smoke before you roll, like the referee. Referee like be smoking a blunt while he's watching the fucking fight, and then like whenever there's like a break, he'll like pass you the blunt, like right before the fight, everybody shares a blunt or a joint, whatever the fuck they're smoking on. Hell yeah, that's dope. But yeah, we got a couple other things to talk about. One of the things, man, this is why I'm low-key glad I'm got this new job and I'm not doing as much. I don't even like talking about a lot of this shit, man. Not my business. I really don't give a fuck about it. I just felt like it's, in the process of doing an MMA show, you cover what's going on in the MMA world. So, here we are. I thought the story was over, but of course it's not. Arnold Berdon pleads not guilty in alleged assault of UFC fighter Rachael Ostovich. I don't know how the fuck you can plead not guilty when somebody's got a broken orbital and it's your girlfriend and she gave the statement, or wife. I don't even, like I said, we don't know the details, which is why I don't like talking about the shit. Your significant other, and now we also have more details. They do have a kid together, so they've got a daughter or a 5-year-old kid together, which makes it that much more nobody else's fucking business to get on their high horse and talk about this situation like you know what the fuck's going on. But either way, they've got a kid, and now this motherfucker seems to be pleading not guilty. We've talked about the story enough. You probably know what's happening. If you don't, just real quick, Rachael Ostovich was supposed to be fighting Paige Van Zandt coming up in January, I believe, on ESPN Plus 1, the very first ESPN Plus card. Going to be the biggest fight of her career. And over the last week, she received a broken orbital bone and a alleged domestic abuse attack from her significant other, Arnold Berdon, and he got arrested. Initially, the charges were attempted murder. They got scaled down to domestic violence, and now it seems he's going to be pleading not guilty. And as crazy as it sounded, initially when we talked about this, and I said, hey, we don't know any of the fucking details and I get it. Domestic violence is terrible. If there's a dude beating on a chick, he's a piece of shit. Put him in there with Johnny Walker. Put him in there with Derrick Lewis. Let him get his ass beat. If it's a dude that puts his hands on females and not other men because he's a fucking weak bastard, fuck him. I'm with you. Domestic violence is terrible. It shouldn't happen. But at the same time, when knowing that doesn't mean you know the details of every fucking case before it happens. Doesn't mean it's not black and white. It's not black and white. And so what I like to do is wait for the details before we jump to conclusions. And like it was just a speculation. Nobody knows what's going on with the details. I said, before we jump to conclusions, let's wait to see what happened, because for all we know, and it's unlikely, someone could have been defending themselves here. Motherfuckers took that and ran with it. Like I said, he was defending himself. Like I knew the details. Motherfuckers are crazy. But now, plot twist, this motherfucker actually might be using a self-defense. I mean, according to his family, it says, Berdon's family told TMZ he plans on mounting a defense to the charge, arguing that he was defending himself. And I said, oh God, what in the fuck are we getting to? I was just trying to not jump to conclusions and speculating, like, what if this who knows what happened? We don't know the details, so let's not talk about it. And this motherfucker actually might be saying he was defending himself. And it sounds crazy. You're defending yourself against your baby's mama and she's got a broken orbital. How the fuck are you defending yourself to where you have to keep It wasn't just a broken orbital. I believe, let's see, I'll read it because she released a statement. It says, last week, Berdon was arrested on a charge of attempted murder, which was reclassified to second-degree assault. Ostovich wrote in a temporary restraining order petition that Berdon punched her repeatedly in the head, face, and ribs, causing her to fall down and spit up blood after an argument at their home in the Waianae area of Honolulu. Now, when you see those details, like punched her repeatedly in the head, face, and ribs, how the fuck is that self-defense? That's that's not self-defense. Self-defense might be a whoa, or if they're coming with the knife, bow, one punch. There ain't no fucking, boo, boo. You ain't gonna there ain't no self-defense when you keep going, so I don't get that part at all. This motherfucker seems like he needs to be in there with Johnny Walker or Derrick Lewis. I don't think this motherfucker was defending himself here. I think he probably caught his girl cheating on him, didn't know how to handle it, maybe jealousy, like, what the fuck, we got a family, I bought you a fucking house, this is my whole fucking life, you fucking jealous mother, didn't know, because people think it's that easy. He should have just left it. They got and yeah, he shouldn't have put his hands on her, but it ain't as easy as just leaving. Some people work through that shit, but it ain't just that easy. He should have just fucking left. Like, bro, you don't even know if they're married. You don't know if they got a prenup. You don't know if they got a fucking kid. It's not black and white. It ain't that easy to just leave. Now, that ain't no reason to put your fucking hands on someone. Definitely, that's not the option. It's not leave or put your hands on a chick. You gotta find the fucking middle ground. If you are gonna leave, you gotta take the right steps to leave. You know what I'm saying? But it's not that fucking easy. You don't know the steps. You don't know anybody's personal situation. So, do I think he was defending himself? Fuck no. It seems like he went overboard, caught her cheating, and I have a reason to believe that. Maybe he didn't catch her cheating. I don't know those details, but leading up to this situation, while he was still on the run, there was a Facebook post and someone was commenting on his shit, and people were like, "Yo, this better not have been you." But boom, people were like, "Hey, you better not have fucking hit her," because he was still on the run. We didn't have the details yet. Someone was like, "You guys don't know if she was cheating," and this dude, like, he liked the comment. Like, what the fuck does that have to do with her having a broken orbital bone? Like, what the fuck? So, complete bullshit, but I just thought it was a crazy turn of events that he actually is pleading not guilty and going to be mounting a defense, saying that he was it was self-defense. That's actually wild. But like I said, you don't know the details. Wait till they all come out. Crazy shit. Now that we're out of those waters, Sage Northcutt no longer with the UFC, according to Dana White. I hope he signs with one championship, bro. It's gonna be like perfect. I think it would be the perfect pairing. Bellator, I would love to see him in Bellator. Honestly, I like the idea of Sage Northcutt not in the UFC. It's just so much fucking better for Sage. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you just want to see Sage get thrown at the Wolves, yeah, they probably should have re-signed him. But if you're talking about what's best for Sage Northcutt's career and even exciting fights and what you can see from Sage Northcutt, like, I want to see Sage in Bellator. I want to see Sage winning, guys. I don't know why. He looks like he just should be fucking winning. And that's going to be tough in the UFC. Why do I want to see Sage Northcutt winning? I don't know. I'm not getting somebody, "Oh, you just want to get the fucking white and fucking..." Shut the... God. I hate those conversations. But no, I'm halfway joking, but no, I like Sage Northcutt. Bellator also, there's amazing matchups for him. For one, Michael Venom Page. I would love to see that fight, but let's build him into the Michael Venom Page fight if he went to Bellator, right? Everybody that Michael Venom Page fought, let Sage Northcutt run through him. Fight him, not the dude that got a skull crack, because he's probably not going to be fighting again. Everybody else, you got some good matchups for Sage, some fights he can win, some motherfuckers he can clean up. Let's do it, over in Bellator. Or, one championship, go over there, beat up a lot of motherfuckers like real life Dragon Ball Z. They say they want real life superheroes and shit. Nobody better than Super Saiyan Sage Northcutt. Nobody better. Wait till Sage Northcutt fucking gets some extensions or something, right? Super Saiyan 3. Some like, bro, y'all don't even know. Y'all don't even know what's coming. Super Saiyan 3 Sage Northcutt in one championship. Bro, I'm ready. Sage would be better at one championship, says Jay Skills. That one's fine too, but I think Bellator's good, but I think it's more likely one championship. There were some pictures of him and the one CEO and stuff like that, so Dana White said, we let Sage go. Sage is young. Sage needs some work. Let him get some work in other organizations, and we'll see where this kid ends up in a couple of years. Maybe we pick him back up again. His contract was up, so we let him go. That simple. Ideally, you wouldn't think a company would let one of their brightest prospects go. That's got so much market potential. Like this guy you can sell fights with, right? You can sell Sage Northcutt. He's a guy that people are going to tune in to see, sell products, stuff like that. But as a fighter, I agree with this decision from the UFC. Give him some work somewhere in another organization. Maybe when his contract's up, he'll want to come back. He'll be ready to come back. Let's go. I'm down with it. Sage Northcutt at one championship or Bellator. I am all the way in. Jay Skills has come back to the UFC in a couple of years. Yeah, did you talk about Israel versus Silva fight? Yes, Kevin Weeks. We did talk about that a little bit earlier in the show. So we only got a couple more things to talk about, so you can just rewind it and listen to it. But yeah, we talked about it. Be a good fight. Is it the best fight for Israel Adesanya? Like the fight I want to see the most? No, I mean it's a great fight for Israel Adesanya, but as a fan, it's not the fight I would love to see. I still would love to see Adesanya versus Till, Adesanya versus Costa, Adesanya versus a top 5 guy. But I mean, if you get the chance to fight Anderson Silva, how do you turn that down? You know what I'm saying? If you're Adesanya, that's still a great fight. And who knows? I mean, yeah, it's not prime Anderson Silva, so I just can't get like as excited for it as I would. Like, I think I would be more excited personally for Adesanya versus Till, but still be a fun fight. Definitely wouldn't miss it. CM Punk addresses potential fight with, yeah, you guys, you can tell we're getting to the thin end of the show, clearly, when we're talking about CM Punk and Logan Paul. CM Punk addresses potential fight with YouTube star Logan Paul. I don't know why I'm talking about this, guys. I really don't care about this. Now I do, because he says I'm not fighting Logan Paul. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not fighting Logan Paul. I think this is one of the avenues where people will be like, I don't even know who Logan Paul is. Logan Paul apparently is a popular guy, but it's not any kind of avenue that I drive my car on. The only thing I know about him is he's the guy who filmed a dead body in the Japanese suicide forest, which is, don't get me started on that, because I'll say a bunch of stuff and then I'm sure somebody will make a YouTube video about it. My entire life, before I got into MMA, for some reason, I'm like this magnet. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it's because, like Ben Askren, I just live unapologetically. I'm like honest to a fault, and I'm just myself, and I really don't care. When you fight somebody, when you enter a fight camp and you have to spend a lot of time thinking about that person, maybe some guys don't. Maybe some guys focus on themselves, but you still have that person in front of you. And I'm not into sharing much of my time and my headspace in my life with somebody that did something that I feel like is so reprehensively disrespectful to the people of Japan who I love. They'll always have a special place in my heart. So no, I'm not fighting him. I have no interest to. I hear you, CM Punk, powerful CM Punk, but I will say I'm pretty sure Vince McMahon has crossed some moral boundaries in his days of promoting. So maybe you won't work for Vince McMahon either anymore. But yeah, either way, CM Punk, Logan Paul, don't care if it happens. I'm sure people will watch it. Will I? If there's nothing else, and I got literally nothing else going on, and it's free, and people request, yeah, not super interested. Other than that, I really think that's the last topic, because other than that, it's just, yeah, the highlight from Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell's trilogy fight. You can check that on MMAmania.com. And yeah, man, if you want to watch it, I don't want to press play and get a copy strike. So that's really it for the show today, guys. So thank you guys for coming through, talking about a little UFC with your boy. Given Surname says UFC wasted a bunch of money promoting this kid just to give another organization try to capitalize on him. Yeah, and they should have did a trade, right? They should have traded some, like, fuck that. I need somebody for this. I can't just, yeah, that's you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I hear what you're saying completely, given Surname. It seems like somebody that one would like to trade for, rather than just the UFC let him go and, oh, we just got to sign him. Man, who knows? Maybe they got a lot of money. So Sage Northcutt was talking about how much money his friends were making in Bellator. So he's been talking about, trying to get to some bigger music. I'm reading your comments, said bigger music. To a bigger payday potentially. But the UFC also, and maybe they don't, but I feel like they would have probably talked to Sage before letting him go. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like the UFC doesn't want to let him go, but they realize it's what's best for him. Like, listen, kid, this is a Shark Tank. We really want you here. We like you more than a lot of these other motherfuckers, bro. We like you more than a lot of the sharks, trust me. But maybe you should come back in a couple of years. Look, one's doing big things. They're looking for superheroes. Even Bellator. You'll get some money, man. Go somewhere, win some fights, work on... Are we coming back? Let's see. Are we back now? Oh, we're back? We're back? Let's see. Are we back now? Alright, well, we're at least back for 1 second. Alright, guys. Wait. That's not what's supposed to be on the screen. Alright, we're back for a second. It says you're coming in and out. There's echo on your voice. Alright, well, that was pretty much the end of the show anyway. I was just going to say, though, like, yeah, if you're the UFC, I mean, normally they try and re-sign guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, Sage Northcutt's a guy that, yeah, it was hard to see. You know what I'm saying? Like, the UFC, not what? They pay him? Do you think they didn't want to pay him? Like, yeah, I know they can't trade a guy if they don't have a contract with him. But I was surprised at the fact that he became a free agent. Like, alright, fuck this. I think we're just done. Now we're back, right? I was going to say, that was pretty much the end of the show anyways, but yeah, and you can't trade a guy without a contract. I mean, the fact that he became a free agent was surprising anyway, but that was the end of the show. We're having connection issues. We won't for the next show, guys. I'll reset the modem. I don't know what's going on. We're direct connected. It's unfortunate. But with that being said, thank you guys for coming through to the show. If you want to hear some tunes, go to UFC Yankovic. I would play some to end the show, but we're having connection issues. It is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments.